On today's podcast, we will be talking about today's economy. For example, what does unemployment look like? What is inflation looking like? As well, are we as American citizens going in the right or wrong direction? Today on Sean and Claire Podcast, brought to you by Kyle Bennett. The first topic we're going to be talking about is what is the current unemployment rate in the economy? The unemployment rate in the economy now sits around 4.1 to 4.2%. There are a few factors that lead to this increase. In October, states were hit by Hurricane Milton, which destroyed many things like power lines, homes, and businesses. This would then increase the unemployment rate because the destruction of Milton caused problems that stopped many people from working. Another question is, what circumstances led to this rate? As inflation rises, the purchasing power of consumers declines because their incomes may not keep up with their rising prices. This reduces demand for goods and services, which means it is making it a lot harder for companies to have bigger staff to pay their employees, which is happening to every company due to high inflation. Another question that's being asked is this historically high or low? Historically, 4.1% is low for the United States. As the COVID-19 pandemic took control of our lives in 2020, the United States hit an extremely high unemployment rate of 14.8%. Clearly, since the disaster is a positive decline that has made an unemployment rate drop to more than 10%. The lower the unemployment rate, the more productive we are as a nation. Another topic that is being talked about is the current rate of economic growth, also known as GDP. The last quarter of the 2024 and current GDP is 3.1%, where the last quarter was 2.8% of 2024. This is as high as it's been since 2023 due to consumer spending, which rose to 3.7%, as well as the business investing grew up to 10.8%, helping a good amount of the economic growth. Another question that's being asked is the economy experiencing expansion, recession, or recovery? The economy today is experiencing an expansion due to the positive GDP growth. Consumers are spending, investing money. Lastly, is this healthy rate of growth? Yes, this is a healthy rate of growth. The U.S. is above average GDP, which is with a 3.1 GDP. As well, people are spending their money as well as investing it, which is very good for our growth as a country. Another topic that's being talked about is what is the current rate of inflation in the economy? And is it too high or is it too low? The current rate of inflation in the U.S. is 2.7%. This is above where the U.S. wants the inflation rate to be at. The U.S. wants the inflation rate to sit around 2%, so that the inflation rate is a bit too high for our likings. So we want our inflation to drop so that our U.S. dollar is worth more and can be able to buy more things for us as U.S. citizens. The last question that is being talked about is what is the current account for the U.S. right now? In the third quarter of the U.S., we reached a record-setting high of $311 billion in the account deficit. The U.S. current account is in a deficit because the value of goods, services, and income imported by the U.S. exceeded the value of goods, services, and income it exports. Also is being talked about is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? As of right now, the current account for the U.S. is not too bad because it shows that we are a strong country in functioning economy. If it continues to grow in response to the GDP, it could create more long-term problems though. It could show that we rely more on foreign capital, causing a decline in captiveness, instead of balancing the deficit through certain policies that encourage exports and reduce reliance and could help ensure our stability. In conclusion, you can see how all these topics from unemployment to inflation are so much more connected in everyone's daily life in the United States. For example, when the inflation rates are up, the unemployment rate is up. Just shows how much of an impact it has on everyone's daily life and how negatively things can change from one thing to another. Thank you so much for listening to the Sean and Claire podcast. Have a good one. So on today's podcast, we'll be talking about today's economy. For example, what does the unemployment rate look like in the U.S.? What does the inflation look like as well?